With the completion of our adventure portion, now was really the time to go back and change the game and develop the game in such a way that it's ready to launch. So we nicknamed this one Paint the Walls. It's like we've built the house, we've got everything in, but we actually need to, move in and tidy everything up. So, there's a lot of beautification, there's some optimization, making adjustments to the design based on, what we see with other titles, just trying to balance that survival experience out. And really through this process I identifies actually we still have a bunch of work that we want to do anyway. And there's some areas of the game that are stronger than we thought and other areas that are weaker than we thought. So now it's about refocusing the game on the areas the game does well and rounding the experience out from that.
We should probably do an introduction. No, we need to do an introduction. We can't just assume. My name is Brian Hicks, probably more commonly known as the creative director of DayZ. Prior to me being here at RocketWorks as the executive producer on Icarus, I was creative director at Exile Entertainment. I think what's most important for Icarus is that we very clearly communicate through the game's design the agency and drive that the player has to come back to the planet. Why do I do this beyond making a cool outpost or 1 or 2 drops and exploring the terrain, Olympus, that the game ships with? As long as we can give them that promise of cool stuff that you can spend your exotics on to keep them doing that loop and coming back again and again. It's a tried and true approach that we've seen in so many experiences that I personally enjoy, from Escape from Tarkov to Phasmophobia. I mean, it'd be far too easy to slip into, Dean Hall and friends building a cabin simulator. That's the easy way out. We need to ask the hard questions and bring people back to the game, because Icarus really has a lot of potential. I see it every time I fire up the game. I want so much to make that progress on my progression as a player, separated from my character. I want to unlock cool stuff and buy cool things so that my next drop is maybe a little bit different or I have an advantage. I want to get that cash to bring the cool toys on my next drop. So as long as we can stick to that, I think we've got a unique experience.
Dean, we've been talking very much about our goal for the next milestone really is to get release candidates.
It's critically important that we get out there and time the market well. If anyone coasts at this point, then we're probably going to fail. Like, everyone here is doing an essential job to get us where we're going. And what we've tried to do is set up, and I think that everyone's done an amazing job at this, a really good production process to support that stuff going. For those who've shipped games will know, we are heading into a little bit of that chaotic time where you'll be working on this thing and then someone will turn around and say, well, no, actually we're doing this now. And that's because what we're trying to do is find that failure point quickly. What is the things that we're not going to be able to do in a short space of time? Right, let's push those off until later. Our job now is to produce a release candidate.
So I think initially with the AI, we really try and think about what the animal would do on Earth. Because we have, all this amazing reference, we can be like, we know exactly what these do in real life and we know what players are going to expect. We basically take a behavior that we want. So we'll say, we want him to run away when he sees a bear. We start to build up a set of actions and behaviors really that we can swap in and out of the different creatures as we see fit. Yeah, most of the work is just developing these kind of modular actions, I guess, and goals and motivations that we can apply looking down the project as well. So we can always come back to these and reuse them. Later on, we're definitely going to bring in some much more aggressive animals, something that's, a real mission to defeat. Like, you have to prepare with your friends and you have to plan for this thing kind of thing. It's like some monolithic creatures, I guess, yeah.
I love killing the baby deer.
Yeah, do you like that satisfying baby deer sound?
Actually so good.
In making the characters, we made sure that we keep it simple and basic as possible, especially on the environment suit. This environment suit will actually protect you from harsh environment in your drop, and it comes with special items as well. Since the design of the character is a bit unique, I would say, because of the straps on it, you actually can't see it on most of the games because you will actually deal with some technical difficulties such as on rigging and skinning and animation. But in the end, I think it worked really well. For the past few months, we decided on adding some customization on the characters. We add a little features like adding scars, tattoos, and stuff like that, which I think players will love. I usually coordinate with the concept artists, and we do a lot of back and forth with them and making sure that every asset is functional. We have to meet halfway, like you make the asset or the character look really good and make it more functional. I can't wait for the players and other people to see it.
Early on we decided to stylize the characters to not go too realistic. So with the stylization we thought a little bit about what people would look evolved in the future where Icarus is set. More refined forms like higher cheekbones, things like that. But we're also thinking these guys are going to be rugged prospectors too, so we wanted to try and get that across with a bit of customization thrown in to get that grizzled prospector feel. As we're working now, we're developing new biomes, the more alien biomes that the players will gradually be able to work themselves into. And we're again exploring the alien species that will live on the planet. Players will move into areas like the swamp, which will be where the terraforming either went bad or never happened at all. And there's going to be a theme there of death and decay, so we want the alien species to bring along this feel and vibe as well. We have got an existing desert biome coming in first cohort, but we will be looking at expanding those desert biomes, mainly because there's large areas of space and we can introduce things like giant. The need for maybe vehicles to get over these expanses and get you past these mega predators. Our aim with the new creatures is to create new challenges for the players to figure out and overcome and come up with their own strategies on how to do that.
A very important game came out during this milestone, which was Valheim. We all incredibly enjoyed Valheim and found it hugely validating. There was a lot of things that Valheim gave to the survival lexicon that we were able to go back and look at and springboard off. There were a few things that we thought about doing that we weren't sure and weren't confident on that players would be able to accept, that Valheim did well and showed players that they could be enjoyable. So this milestone really identified a whole bunch of extra work that we wanted to do, things like around food, being able to introduce them as buffs and debuffs. So at this point, we really had struggled with food because it was kind of this thing you either had or you didn't. And there was this tipping point in the game where you went from struggling with food to having too much food. By extending that food system to include buffs, that meant that even though you were flush with food, you still might seek out an awesome form of food like getting yeast and flour and making bread, as well as, you know, one of the most important things we were trying to do was have it so that you had a good reason to build buildings. Well, in Valheim, you need the building to be able to build your crafting bench. So that really gave us the confidence to do that. Initially in the project, we weren't super confident that players were going to be okay with that. So we were able to go back to that, which then works in very well with how we've approached weather and stuff like that as a key antagonist. At this point, we're starting to see everything layer in really nicely. And the next milestone is going to be about us going through the lessons we've learned from titles like Valheim and how we can apply them to our title.